The findings of the Sandiganbayan 5th Division says the Marcos family is the beneficiary of the Swiss foundations created by former President Ferdinand Marcos and former First Lady Imelda Marcos. Grace Casin tells us why.
The Sandiganbayan found that former First Lady and incumbent Ilocos Norte 2nd District Representative Imelda Marcos created 7 private foundations in Switzerland. Based on case records, former President Ferdinand Marcos and former First Lady have sole and full rights of disposal of 50% each of the Muller Foundation. Mrs. Marcos was named as first beneficiary of Trinidad Foundation during her lifetime, while her children, Ilocos Norte Governor Imee Marcos, former Senator Bongbong Marcos, and Irene Marcos, were named as second beneficiaries in equal shares. In Raybay Foundation, Mrs. Marcos was named as the first and only beneficiary during her lifetime. In the Aviso Foundation, later named as Verso and Vibur Foundation, the family of Marcos was the beneficiary. However, the beneficiaries of Palmi, Avertina, and Rosalis Aguamina Foundation were not stated in the court's findings. Based on the decision of the Sandiganbayan 5th Division, the said foundations were used in opening bank accounts and deposits, transferring funds, earning interest, and even profit from investment, and for the personal benefit of the Marcos family as beneficiaries. The decision states that the same scheme was used in transferring assets from one account to another. Lead prosecutor Ray Kilala earlier said that the Marcoses earned an estimated $200 million from the scheme. The court found basis to convict the former First Lady guilty beyond reasonable doubt in violation of Section 3H of the Republic Act 3019 or the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. The law says any public officer is prohibited from having direct or indirect financing interest in any business, contract, or transaction in connection with which he intervenes or takes part in his official capacity, or by any law from having any interest. The court found that Imelda Marcos used her position then as First Lady and as a Minister of Human Settlement, Interim Batasang Pambansa member, and Metro Manila Governor for allegedly having financial interests in her private institutions in Switzerland. According to Kilala, the court's decision is not yet final and executory, and the accused can still appeal the ruling to the High Court. In 1993, Sandiganbayan 1st Division found Imelda Marcos guilty of graft of the unlawful foreign exchange accounts she and her late husband owned in Geneva, Switzerland, but the Supreme Court overturned the Sandiganbayan's decision and acquitted Marcos. The UNTV News is still trying to reach the Marcoses for their comment on the issue. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Sandiganbayan 5th Division has ordered the arrest of former First Lady and now Ilocos Norte Congresswoman Imelda Marcos. Last Friday, Marcos was found guilty of 7 cases of graft over the creation of Swiss accounts while she was still in office. In its order, the 5th Division of the Anti-Graft Court directed the issuance of a warrant of arrest on Imelda, who failed to attend the promulgation of the decision. The court has also forfeited her bail bonds and required her to explain within 30 days why no judgment on the bond should be issued. After former First Lady Imelda Marcos was convicted for graft charges, the Sandiganbayan is also set to decide on another civil forfeiture case against the Marcoses. Mai Bermudez will tell us why.
Amid the looming arrest of former First Lady Imelda Marcos following her conviction for 7 counts of graft, the Anti-Graft Court is set to rule on another civil case against the Marcoses. Imelda and her children, Imee, Bongbong, and Irene, were named respondents in the 200 billion peso forfeiture case. Her in-laws were also originally charged but were dropped from the case. The Presidential Commission on Good Government submitted its memoranda or summary of arguments and evidence to the Anti-Graft Court's 4th Division. The 31-year-old case aims to recover 200 billion peso worth of alleged ill-gotten wealth on top of the 250 million pesos worth of money spent by the government in pursuing the case. In its complaint filed in 1987, PCGG insists the properties and funds used by the Marcoses do not match their salaries, incomes, and properties. This Friday, November 16, Retired Justice Lolong Lazaro will represent Imelda as the court hears their motion to avail of post-conviction remedies, which include posting bail for her temporary liberty. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Victims of human rights violations during the martial law era lauds the Sandiganbayan's decision to convict former First Lady and now Ilocos Norte Representative Imelda Marcos on 7 counts of graft. Individuals who are pro and anti-Marcos, meanwhile, have expressed different reactions on Marcos' conviction and her looming arrest. Jay Alasayo tells us why.
Donnie de la Fuente and Carlos Salvador could never forget the pain and sufferings they endured when the Philippines was placed under the military rule in September 21, 1972. Many critics of the administration of former President Ferdinand Marcos were said to be arrested and subjected to torture during the martial law era. The Marcoses were then overthrown through the EDSA People Power in 1986, and the late Corazon Aquino, the widow of murdered former Senator Ninoy Aquino, became the president of the country. Her administration, founded in February 28, 1986, the Presidential Commission on Good Government, tasked to run after and recover the wealth allegedly plundered by the Marcos family and their cronies from public coffers. The PCGG was able to recover some of the money and assets from the Marcoses in the past years, and just last Friday, the Sandiganbayan found former First Lady Imelda Marcos guilty in 7 counts of graft for using her cabinet position to maintain Swiss bank accounts during her husband's 21-year rule. De la Fuente and Salvador were elated with the court's decision.
Napatunayan na yan at lumabas na yung katotohanan na kung saan nakasuhan nila ang Imelda Marcos doon sa 200 million na mula sa Swiss bank ay dinala sa mga
isang patunay sa kawastuhan ng aming pinaglaban na hindi namin binitawan at tutuusin hindi namin hiningi na bayaran kami o bigyan kami ng kompensasyon.
Pro and anti-Marcos groups, meanwhile, have expressed varying reactions on media's guilty verdicts and looming arrests. Former party list Representative Nery Colmenares, in a statement, welcomed the court's ruling, saying that somehow justice has been served for the martial law victims. Former Commission on Human Rights Chairperson Eta Rosales also lauded the honest men and women of Sandiganbayan. House Minority Leader Danilo Suarez, meanwhile, said the 89-year-old should be given consideration when law enforcers serve her warrant of arrest, while Senator Chiz Escudero said that Imelda Marcos is not yet qualified for presidential pardon. Under the Republic Act 10368 or the Human Rights Victims Reparation and Recognition Act of 2013, qualified martial law victims can claim more than 170,000 to 1.7 million pesos in damages. But more than the monetary aspect, martial law victims like De La Fuente and Salvador want to see the day when the Marcos family is finally brought to justice for their crimes.
mas sa taong bayan. Kaya kami, kung tutusin, sekundary yung ibinibigay sa amin. At principal yung managot.
Yung danyos na sinasabi ang magbibigay ng hustisya para sa amin. Ang aminin. Pero hanggang ngayon walang inaamin itong mga taon to. Nagsalita na ang korte pero ayun, nakakatakbo pa. Gobernador pa nga yata tatakbo nung Imelda. Napakakapal ng mukha.
J.L. Asayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.